Hello, everybody. Welcome back to school. These read aloud videos are going to be focusing on me reading Bud Not Buddy. We're reading Bud Not Buddy because it's a funny, great story. It's also level T, perfect for 4th and 5th grade. But also, Bud Not Buddy allows us to study two areas of history that we're going to be studying. And one is the Great Depression. Bud Not Buddy takes place in the 1930s, and as you can see, that is right in the middle of the Great Depression. I try to think, how can I explain up front the Great Depression simply? I try to make a kid-friendly definition. It's a slowdown of business leading to less money, jobs, and stuff in stores for many people. Now, not all people. There's still rich people, but many people. During the Great Depression, 3 out of every 10 people had no jobs and no money and were in a super tough spot. So just think about that. For every 10 people out there, 3 of them were having a really bad time. And I bet you another 3 or 4 of them were having a not so great time. And then maybe 2 or 3 out of each 10 were like, well, we're okay. All right, so Bud Not Buddy also does touch upon another history thing we're going to be studying called the Great Migration. And the Great Migration is considered one of the largest movements of people in history, the gold rush being one, but the Great Migration was larger but over more time. And basically it was all the African Americans who were former slaves in the south part of the United States started moving to the north and cities and all over the United States. Here's some numbers. 90% of all African Americans in America lived in the South before 1900. Okay? But by 1940, only 50% were left. That is millions and millions and millions of people. So, Bud Not Buddy touches on some of that. Without further ado, let's jump into the Bud Not Buddy. Oh, I did give your parental units a schedule on Constella for what I'd like your school days to look like, your school weeks. Some people need some flexibility. I've been communicating. I'm thinking today you should be reading your own fiction book. So you're either in the middle of one or you're getting a new one. Once a week on Friday, I'm going to ask you to turn in a paragraph on that. And I will give more details at a better place without wasting a lot of YouTube video time. Do some math. Listen to the read aloud. That is my expectations for today. Bud Not Buddy. He's a pretty confident character. Faces a lot of adversity. Chapter 1. Here we go again. We're all standing in line for breakfast when one of the case workers came in and tapped down the line. Uh-oh. This meant bad news. Either they'd found a foster home for somebody or somebody was about to get paddled. All the kids watched the woman as she moved along the line. Her high-heeled shoes sound like little firecrackers going off on the wooden floor. Shoot! She stopped at me. Are you Buddy Caldwell? It's Bud Not Buddy, man. She put her hand on my shoulder and took me out of line. Then she pulled Jerry, one of the littler boys, over. Aren't you Jerry Clark? He nodded. Boys, good news. Now that the school year has ended, you both have been accepted in new temporary care homes starting this afternoon. Boys, good news. Now that the school year... Okay, right. Together? Why, no, Jerry. Jerry, you'll be in a family with 3 little girls. Jerry looked like he had just figured out they were going to dip him in a pot of boiling milk. And Bud, the Amoses. You'll be with Mr. and Mrs. Amos and their son, who's 12 years old. That makes him just 2 years older than you, doesn't it, Bud? So already we have a lot of information. Bud is an orphan, and he's in an orphanage, and he's 10 years old, and he likes to be called Bud, not Buddy. I'm sure you'll both be very happy. Me and Jerry looked at each other. Now, boys, no need to look so glum. I know you don't understand what it means, but there's a depression going on all over this country. People can't find jobs, and these are very, very difficult times for everybody. We've been lucky enough to find 2 wonderful families who opened their doors for you. I think it's best that we show our foster families that we're very, she dragged out the word very, waiting for her to finish her sentence. Cheerful, helpful, and grateful, said Jerry. I moved my lips and mumbled. She smiled and said, unfortunately, you won't have time for breakfast. I'll have a couple pieces of fruit to put in a bag. In the meantime, go to your sleep room, strip your beds, gather your things. You're going. Here we go again. I felt like I was walking in my sleep as I followed Jerry back to the room where all the boys' beds were jam-jammed together. This was the 3rd foster home I was going to, and I'm supposed to be packing up and leaving, but it still surprises me that there's always a few seconds right after they tell you, you've got to know, when my nose gets all runny and my throat gets all choky and my eyes get all stingy, but the tears coming out doesn't happen to me anymore. I don't know when it first happened, but it seems like my eyes just don't cry anymore. Jerry sat on his bed, and I could tell he was losing the fight not to cry. Tears were popping out of his eyes and slipping down his cheeks. I sat down next to him. I know being in a house with 3 girls sounds terrible, but Jerry, it's a lot better than being with a boy who's a couple years older than you. I'm the one who's going to have problems. An older boy is going to want to fight, but those little girls will treat you real good. They're going to treat you like some special pet or something. You think so? Said Jerry. I'd trade you in a minute. The worst thing that's going to happen to you is that they're going to make you play house a lot. They'll make you be the baby, and they'll hug you and do this all kind of junk to you. Gag, gag, goo, goo, baby, waby. Jerry couldn't help but smile. I said, you're going to be great. Jerry looked like he wasn't so scared anymore. I went over to my bed and I started getting ready. Even though it was me who was in a lot of trouble, I couldn't help but feel sorry for Jerry. Not only because he was going to have to live around 3 girls, but because being 6 is a real tough age. Most folks think you start to be a real adult when you're 15 or 16, but that's not true. It starts when you're 6. It's at 6 that grown folks don't think you're a cute little kid anymore. They talk to you and they expect you to understand everything they mean. And you best understand it too if you aren't looking for some real trouble, because it's around 6 that grown-ups stop giving you little swats and taps and jump clean up to giving you slugs that'll knock you right down and have you seeing stars in the middle of the day. The first foster home I was in taught me that real quick. There's some clues about his life. 6. Since he was 6 years old, he's had a tough time. 6 is bad too, because that's when real scary things start to happen to your body. It's around that your teeth come loose in your mouth. You wake up morning and it seems like your tongue is the first one to notice, because as soon as you get up there pushing it, rubbing against one of your front teeth, I'll be doggone if that tooth isn't just the littlest bit wiggly. At first you think it's funny, and the tooth gets looser and looser, and one day, the middle of pushing the tooth back and forth, you pull it clean out. It's the scariest thing, because you think you lost control of your tongue. At the same time, no matter how try to stop it, it won't leave a new hole in your mouth alone. It keeps digging around the spot where the tooth used to be. You tell some adult about what's happening, all they do is they say, oh, that's normal. You can't be too sure, though, because it shakes you up a whole lot than grown folks think it does when perfectly good parts of your body commence to loosening up and falling off. Unless you're as stupid as a lamppost, you gotta wonder what's coming next. Your arm? Your leg? Your neck? Every morning when you wake up, it seems like one of your parts aren't stuck on as good as they used to be. 6 is real tough. That's how old I was when I came to live here in the home. That's how old I was when Mama died. I folded the blanket and sheet and set them back on the mattress. Then I reached under the bed to get my suitcase. Most of the kids in the home keep their things in a paper cloth or sack, but not me. I have a suitcase. I set it on the mattress and I untied the twine that held it together. I did what I do every night before I go to sleep. I check to make sure everything's there. There's more and more kids coming to the home, and I had to make sure no one had run off with any of my things. First, I pulled my blanket out and saw that everything was where it was supposed to be. At the bottom of my suitcase were flyers. I took the blue flyer, and I looked it out again. The paper was starting to wear out for me looking at it so much, but I liked checking to see if there was anything I hadn't noticed before. It was like someone was telling me there was a message for me on the flyer, but I didn't have a decoder ring. Across the top of the flyer, written in black letters, were the words, limited engagement. And then little letters it said, direct from SRO engagement in New York City. And underneath the big letters again it said, Herman E. Calloway and the Dusky Devastators of the Depression. Those 6 exclamation points. 6 exclamation points. Those 6 exclamation points made it seem like it was the most important news anyone could think about. The paper said, Masters of New Jazz. Then, in the middle of the flyer was a blurry picture of the man I had a good suspicion about. I'd never met him, but I had a good feeling this guy might be my father. In the picture, he's standing next to a giant fiddle that's taller than him, and it looks real heavy, and he's leaning up against it trying to hold it. He looks like he's been doing this for a long time, and he must be tired, because he has a droopy, dreamy look on his face. 2 men beside him, one playing drums, and the other blowing a horn. It wasn't hard to see what the guy, who must be my father, was like just by looking at his picture. You could tell he was quiet, friendly, smart, a kind face. Underneath the picture, someone had written in black fountain pen, one night only in Flint, Michigan at the luxurious 50 grand, Saturday, June 16, 1932, 9 until... I remember Mama bringing home this flyer with her when she came home from work one day. She got very upset. She put it on the supper table and kept looking at it and picking it up and putting it back down. I was only 6 then. I couldn't understand why this one got her so upset. She kept 4 others that were like it on her dressing table. But this one made her so jumpy. The only difference I could see between the blue one and the others is it didn't say anything about Flint on them. I remember this blue one too, because it wasn't too long after she brought it home that I knocked on Mama's bedroom door, and I found her. I put the blue flyer back in the suitcase with the 4 other ones, and I put everything back in its place. I went over to the big chest of drawers and took my other set of clothes and put them in my suitcase too. I tied the twine back around my bag and then went and sat on Jerry's bed with him. Jerry was thinking just as hard because neither of us was saying anything. We sat close enough so that our shoulders were touching. Here we go again. So, I don't know if you can see on the cover, in the back, is the poster. You know, Herman Calloway, the Dusky Devastators. So we just learned a lot about him, huh? Since he was 6, he found his mama. He's an orphan. He's in the Midwest. He's near Michigan. It is the Depression. We will find out more things. Let's leave it there for right now. Tomorrow I'm going to be asking you guys to do a little bit of reading on depression. And we'll do some learning and we'll connect it to the book. All right, my good people. We will get through this amazing and difficult time together. And we'll learn some things and make life good. Okay? Okay.